Dr. Rekha Ramachandran has relentlessly worked to raise public awareness on Down syndrome, which is not a disease but a genetic disorder that happens when the baby gets 3 copies of chromosome 21. Dr. Rekha Ramachandran is the co-founder and chairperson of Mathru Mandir, an institution that provides rehabilitation, support, and therapy for individuals with Down syndrome, while offering daycare services to innumerable children from all over India and the Middle East. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a few questions that I would like to ask you to help our viewers understand what was the need for Down Syndrome Federation of India and what are the work that you're doing through that, so many more people can benefit from your services. I would like for you to share what was inspired you to start Down Syndrome Federation of India.
Good morning, Chitra. It's not as if I started a federation like that overnight. It was like you produce something beautiful in the world and then it becomes a major challenge. And then you're looking around you and there's no one to even answer your questions. Everybody you approached had only one thing to say. Just go home. She might die tomorrow. So it was like I'm sitting and shooting myself and thinking, is that an answer to give any individual? And that's when I realized that I needed at least a small support group that would understand and that we could go together to even question, because when you go as an individual and that to a woman 40 years ago, you're supposed to be quiet, sit in your houses, and that's not me. So thank God for my education. I started doing my own little research through other children because there were no books. Then your social media was completely zilch. I didn't even have a phone. I didn't even have a landline, by the way. So who do you contact? Yes, I did go into the hospitals and I kept asking questions that if there are other parents, please just give me their numbers or their addresses. But everyone's house I went to, Chitra, this I have to tell you, if I knocked on the door and I said, can I see your child with Down syndrome, they would close the door. Because they said it was not in the neighborhood, no one knew about it, because otherwise the siblings would not be married. So it was a very closed secret. But here I'm thinking I'm so proud of my baby and I don't care who she is, what she is. And that, sort of gave me so much of this courage to go out and fight for her rather than for me. So I formed a very small group of 3 people actually initially. And one was an older girl who was 12 years and one was a little one who was 2. So I said, let's sit together and discuss issues. This started as the smallest association of 3 families and slowly it grew to 6. Then it grew to 30. And by the first year, we had about 400 people. That gave us hope that maybe we are looking at a very small section of people and we need to spread across the borders. Now, going across the borders, it's not easy. We went into Kerala and no one understood what I was saying. It was like I was hitting my head on the wall. It is like different language, different culture. Everything was so different. So then we said, let's catch the local groups. Now that started, and every state we started roaming for 30 years. I have been going state to state to state, setting up small parent groups who have themselves grown. And today, not only do we have support groups, but we also have the medical teams with the support groups. So it has grown, and now we call ourselves the Federation. But it began as a very small association. But the reason for all of this is my little baby who told me, stop sitting and thinking, work. So when people ask me, what did you do for your daughter? I always say, she did it to me. I never did anything.
Wonderful, ma'am. This is so inspiring. And ma'am, what is the vision? Do you have a vision for Down Syndrome Federation of India now that you've grown and you are going to grow further?
When you write a federation, you have to give a mission, you have to give a vision. Now, I only had one vision in my brain, which was awareness. I only wanted people to be aware that we are here, we are not going. India has a population of 29,000 to 30,000 babies being born a year. 1 in 750 to 800 babies are coming in every year. Now, can you imagine the problem that I have that is sitting in front of me, where we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg? And we think that 6,000 people is a lot of people. No, there are so many people we have not, their lives we haven't touched. I have only one vision. If I can, I would reach out to every individual who has a child with Down syndrome and say, be proud, be here, be aware. Because awareness means you learn and you understand your child. Every child needs to be understood, whether they have a challenge or they don't have. The parents have to sit down, and everybody has their own challenges. It's not as if people with Down syndrome have challenges. We create them. We cause the confusion in our brain by saying, oh, you have a challenge. They don't. They're absolutely easy, beautiful people. But you can create the confusion by getting stressed out. Be calm. That's my first line for parents. Listen, learn, and practice what you have learned by being a patient mother. Just be a mother and father. You don't have to become somebody else to be a parent. You brought the child into the world, take the responsibility.
I think that answers my further questions. I wanted to ask you, how did you go against the tide, and what did you do to, go against the kind of statements that you've heard when Bubbly was younger? But I think you've given me all the answers to that already, ma'am. Thank you.
One thing here, Chitra, that I would like to tell you, that it was a huge stigma. It was like a fear of society, a fear of the rest of the world shunning you away. It was like you've produced something that nobody wants to even look at. It was like you took the child out and the whole world will think, oh my God, she sinned. So this thing about the woman sinning was something that I wanted to crash. After all, I didn't produce the child alone. It needed two people to produce the child. So why was the man always getting away with it and the woman was always caught in it, which was happening in my own family, where my mother-in-law said, oh, it's your karma. I said, what happens to your karma or my husband's karma? Everything else is shut out, and this continued throughout India. In every place I went, they would say, she has done something wrong. And so I went in a big way to change that by telling them that this is not a sin. This is it can happen to any individual. And it happens at the time of conception. This is not a carried sin. So it is difficult to explain chromosomes. For me, it was difficult because I'm not a medical person and nobody was explaining anything to us till I traveled abroad, and then I understood. But these were the first things I had to clear. The shroud of fear, the clarity that your child is yours, there is no sin in it, and you will be so proud. And all those parents I met 40 years ago today are so clear in their minds and very, very proud of their children.
This is so amazing, ma'am. And I think at the end of the day, that's what our children want, right? Accept them and love them for who they are, and not constantly try to change them to be who we want them to be.
Exactly. I mean, they never said, bring me into the world. I'll give you a very small example. A week ago, Hyderabad contacted me and said there was this mother who did not want this baby, and the baby was a baby girl and a girl who has Down syndrome, so all the more. And in this day and age, so I spoke to her and I said, she said, Nay, you please come and take the baby away. I said, perfect. Are you nursing the baby? She said, yes. I said, just continue to nurse because I need the mother's milk. Just for the fact that the immunity will be built up, I'll come and take the baby. But I said, just look at the baby. For me, 1 minute, look at the baby. And you know what the baby is saying? I don't want you as my mother. Who are you to say you don't want me? You bring me into the world. You give birth to me, and then you say you want to give me away? I don't want a mother like that. Have you ever asked your children whether they want you? If you are angry all the time, the first thing a so-called neurotypical child will turn around and say, go, I don't want you. But our children don't say that. So you take it for granted that you can just keep on bashing them. You have to be more grounded, understand that this child has certain difficulties. Look at the difficulties and try to see whether there's a solution. There's a solution for everything. In my rule book, there is nothing that cannot be solved. If you can handle your husbands, your in-laws, you can handle the little baby. That's what I keep telling them. And that's so true. You sit back and think about it. If you don't want to, you will never find an answer. But there is so many things that we have to talk to parents and constantly tell them, I'm there with you, I'm holding your hand.
You spoke about going to take that baby. I'm sure there are other babies probably with you. Is there a home or something where you?
No, we don't believe in that. We don't. We don't believe that you take the child away from the parent. I will work. I'll kill myself till that mother takes that baby, because what a mother can give. It's initial fear. It's initial guilt. It's initial fear of society. It's a fear of so many things. Can I handle it? Every individual feels I'm not capable. And they feel that maybe, what all these people are telling me, I might not be able to do it. I let down my child. So you got to be hand-holding. So I hand-hold till the mother says, I love her. I love him. So I don't let go. So there is no question. I don't believe in institutional care from day one. I don't believe that you can take your adult child. Teach your siblings. The siblings must know that if you have an unmarried sister in the house, you don't send her out. She has as much right to be in the house as anybody else. But if there is an issue, we will tell you how to solve it. We started creating very small support groups of 4 people together. And like you have a house mother, we can solve these issues. But till such time, just love that baby, because they want nothing but a happy mother. You just want your mother to be smiling. Every baby that I know will look at the mother and say, happy? That's all they ask. They don't ask you for much.
Very true, ma'am. All children want their mothers to be happy, and they will go to any extent to please their mother.
Exactly. It's not the extent. They're looking at you all the time. So when they do any scribbling also, they show it to you and they say, they want you to look absolutely, because they know when you're acting. They know it. But it doesn't happen that the grandmother or the maid or anybody says it's good. No, they want only the mother to say it's beautiful.
Yes, yes. And ma'am, you spoke about the parents and the kind of support you're offering. Is there other supports that parents can take from Down Syndrome Federation to help their children or to help themselves be more empowered and equipped to help their children in return?
So the first thing one has to realize is that a baby with trisomy 21 comes with a package of medical issues. So it's everything that we look at is the medical issues. So when I first see a baby, we find out whether everything is okay, the heart, we look first at the heart, then we look at the thyroid levels, we screen for hearing, vision, the gut, and of course, the skeletal structure, the spinal column, plus the feet, plus the fingers, all of it, we check it without the parent knowing that we're checking it. And we slowly start explaining that there could be some medical issues. So we screen them completely. We have a whole team. The entire thing is done by our pediatricians, cardiologists, endocrinologists, the orthopedic. Everyone comes in as a team. The baby is looked after. Thereafter, we start with our therapy. So by 3 months, if the baby does not have a medical complication, it is mine. And we are making the mother most comfortable, saying, all you have to do is to do a small bit like this. Because, when you exaggerate with hypotonia, they might not understand. So we play around with the muscles by playing with the baby. And yesterday also we had a beautiful little baby. And the baby was looking at the mother wondering, why is everybody else touching me? Not my mother. So we train the mother because the child responds better with the mother. And yes, we have every 3-month goals. And that is for every baby in India. We have set this thing as a practice that you have to show me the baby initially. And each child is an individual. We will not generalize. that this child has this. No, we cannot. So if one baby has one medical issue, the other one will have something else. So we have a team that looks after that particular medical issue. We set it right without the parent even getting so hyper or stressed out. We stay with them and we pay for even every surgery that is done. We are ready to pay for it. If they don't have the finances, we look after them. We keep them in our houses. So it's like a package. So you just want that mother to be comfortable for the first initial years till she comes out of all that. And then she says, okay, I am now independent. I am more empowered. I can handle this baby. So Rekha Ma, I am now feeling good about it. Till she says that, we don't let her go.
That's so wonderful, ma'am. That's amazing. Ma'am, what is your recommendation for professionals? Professionals as such, medical professionals, therapists like me. What is your recommendation for us so that we will be more sensitive to the families and we can be more efficient in reaching out their need? What would you recommend?
One thing, Chitra, why is it so different that because I have a child with special needs that you have to be different? How would you like somebody to treat you and talk about your child? Tell me. The first thing you want anybody to look at your baby and say, or your child and say, wow, so beautiful. And also say, I think there is potential here. We will work together. So, parents can get sucked into this thing of saying, I don't have help. The doctor said that my baby cannot do this. Even a professional, sometimes the therapist, when they are touching the baby, they make these noises. Oh, so I keep telling them, stop. Do not express anything but beauty. Because a parent doesn't understand that I have an issue with swallowing. So when we talk about esophagus reflux, it might mean nothing to them. So we calm them and say that we will take the baby and we know how to feed the baby. We'll teach you how to feed the baby, because these are the first things that worry the mother, that they're not chewing, they're not doing this. And if there is a harsh comment that you haven't done it, they'll feel let down. So yes, sometimes our therapists can be very, very fierce, because I know my therapist will say, did you do the practice that we gave you? Have you been, desensitizing the child the way we taught you? And sometimes, what happens? The parent never had the time. So I tell them, wait, look at the amount of things this little woman has to do at home. Look after the other child, plus look after the in-laws, plus washing, cleaning. It isn't easy to be a parent. It isn't easy to be a mother. And that too, if you're at home and if you cannot fight the system. See, how many people come to my center and say, Ma, we don't have the time because, we have a very difficult in-laws at home. And so we understand. So then we come there, and then, in fact, I go to their homes. And I sit down and talk to the rest of the family. Actually, my work never starts with the parents. It starts with the family. I was telling the doctors yesterday, I have never had just the parents. I bring in the entire family because I need the family support. I need for them to understand that this little girl cannot struggle on her own. If you can give her support and you can, make her feel good about herself, just let her relax for that. Give her some me time. Maybe one cup of tea also sometimes they can't have. So we are not here to judge people. And don't keep judging them. When doctors say, you never kept your appointment, you should have come. I always ask them, can you please ask the parent what stopped them from coming? You think any parent would not want to meet the doctor? But sometimes there are delays, not as a habit, but sometimes. We know the ones who are making it into a habit, and we know how to reprimand them. But even the reprimand should be done with a lot of love.
That is so true of what I believe too, when I keep encouraging my team to see a parent with all the other challenges that they're going through. And in Dimensions, what I recommend my team to do is give just one plan, one goal at a time, and tell the parent to try and work on only that one. Because when parents feel successful, they will come back for more. And when you're successful in that, you give two. Set the goal one step at a time, because nobody would want to work on something where they're going to constantly fail. Set for success, just like how we set children up for success. So I really loved to hear what you said, ma'am. This is beautiful. And ma'am, what are some of the things that you think has to change in our country to help our children more better? I'm talking about children because we work with children primarily at dimensions. We work with children less than 9 years of age because we want to super specialize in that population. That's why I'm constantly using children. I know there are individuals with Down syndrome as well. But by and large, if it is children and for adults, what is your recommendation about the system that has to change in our country? You've been to so many countries as well, so I'm sure you have a large.
But Chitra, no other country is as easy as India. I have traveled the world and I find they are hitting their heads on the wall. They keep asking us, should we come back to India? But I only feel one thing, that they are economically slightly better than they would be here. But you never get that support. You know, sometimes Bubbly, I used to tell Bubbly, people are looking and all. She only has to say one thing to me: Mom, we are so beautiful that people look. People like to look at beautiful people. So why don't we look at like that? Instead of looking at they're staring and they're not. They are there because they have never seen someone like us. And they're learning. So let's not make it into an issue. One is there should be more awareness. For awareness, we need more visibility. India is not a very visible country. We like to hide whatever we are anxious about, frightened about, and we fear society in such a way that, we are not proud of what we have. Like a person who's, even with color, a girl who is darker will have her own inhibitions, because people in the house have done that. So what we have to do is to first make the person who has any challenge feel you are the best. So when they go out and they stand there, they have confidence. Building confidence is the best thing you guys can do. Whether it is a child, a parent, just make them feel good about themselves. See, what happens is our language and our body language is very important. So why I get excited is because that passes on. It makes them feel, oh, if Rekha Ma can be like this, then we should also be happy. So, there are times when I tell them that your mood is reflected by your child. With the way I speak, Bubbly speaks. Now, that's so important. In a language or in a developmental pattern, your child is an expression of you. It's just a reflection. You look at yourself in the mirror and you will know bang on that child belongs to Rekha. So you are what exhibits this society. Who is society? Who is the society? We. Your entire community. Build a community. I have built a community of 10,000 people where Bubbly doesn't have to worry whether I'm there or not there. From the initial years, and today everybody's in apartments, we were always isolated. Today, apartments, gated communities, people living together. Get everybody to enjoy your baby. Make sure they understand the smallest nuances. Have meetings, call them to your house, have a small tea party, and bring all the children together so that the children also understand. See, the thing is in keeping secrets or not being honest. Whether you go to a school or into a public area, you can go to a park and call all the children. Just tell them, I want to explain about it. I did that in Bubbly was 40 years ago. And the school was so accommodative because I had already explained everything. The smallest things that Bubbly can be like this. She can't see without her glasses. Don't take away her glasses. Children are so beautiful. And the adults learn because the children are adapting. They teach their parents. And she's nice to me. I like to be with her is what comes, the outcome. Because the issues are never with the children. It's always with the parents. So we've got to make people more aware. That's my first and initial thing. Wherever I stand, yes, we have people with Down syndrome. We're proud. So you can want to be with us, join us. If you don't, that's your decision. You can't force people, but at the same time, you can at least explain. So I think wherever you're standing, first tell your parents to create that community. because you don't know when you need support. See, one of the parent goes into hospital, there is chaos. And you don't know when you will get sick. So you need somebody else to support you at that time where you can send your child. And most importantly, Chitra, make sure your child is independent. Self-help skills. Nobody wants a child who is not, empowered or can do his own activities or activities of daily living. If you are not capable of that, nobody wants you. So don't blame the society. First, look after the basics. And every child with Down syndrome is definitely capable. You are making them incapable. A parent called me up, my son is 14 and we still have to wash and clean him. I turned around and said, you are doing it. He never asked for it. So why don't you change the system by telling him, you can? No, he doesn't do a clean job. I said, that's in your mind, not in his. He's doing the best. And be happy with it. And once a day, he has a shower, he'll clean himself. But the problem is that you want everything to be in your mind perfect. Get that thing out of your head. What is perfect? You think you're perfect? No. The child is judging you. Why are my parents always after me? I did it. I cleaned myself. I'm a happy person. So I really feel that, it is a two-way thing where the children are also judging you. Don't think that you always have a right to judge somebody. And also, I think it's language first. Always important to give the respect to the person, and they really want respect. They are very, 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 very sensitive people. So don't override them. And don't talk about them. Chitra, this thing you have to insist. Don't talk about them in front of them, which is a habit in our country. Yesterday, we had a small celebration. The mother comes. Oh, she doesn't write. I said, stop. Tell me what she does. Oh, she knows how to comb my hair. She does all of this. I said, I gave her a big hug for it. The problem is that we are always trying to talk about what is not rather than what is. So appreciation comes only when you know where we stand. Yeah. I talk too much, don't I?
Ma'am, you made so much.
You ask me a question, I don't stop.
that makes it easier for me. I don't have to ask plenty of questions. I concise them into.
I always overlap everything. The doctors yesterday were saying, oh my God, you're giving us too much information. I said, I'm sorry, I'll slow down.
So thank you so much, ma'am. I think our viewers have learned a lot today, how to appreciate children first instead of pointing out what they cannot do, how not to touch children just because, or the individual just because you have the authority or power to, and fail to realize that they are sensitive people and they have to be valued and respected for who they are. I really like what you said about mothers being happy. That's what their children want. If the mother is always cribby and not very happy, the same thing is going to be passed on to the child, which is not fair. I really like the way you mentioned about happy moms. And I'm hoping that whatever we've discussed today will benefit mothers all across the country and internationally, that they will be more sensitive to their children, appreciate them for who they are, and take pride in who they are. Thank you for your time, ma'am. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chitra. Can I end on one note? I just want to say one thing to parents, that reverse the roles for 1 minute. Make the child the parent and you become the child. Think for 1 second how you would want your parent to treat you. There was a child who came to me and said, my mother carries a scale all the time and she hits me. And I asked the mother, if the scale was in his hand, it would not be easy for you. You're teaching him something. Everything is taught behavior. So when they come and complain that the child has bad behavior, our children do not have what they call or label bad. They are only having learned behavior. So I think every parent has to be cautious in language, behavior, their behavior, the way they sit, the way they eat, the way they behave, the way they talk to others. Everything is copied by our children. So the most important thing is to be there, grounded, think twice before you say anything to your little children, and talk, because you're talking about below 9 years. I think that is the most impressionable age. And we've got to be careful looking after our children, because tomorrow they are part of society. And we don't want anyone who does not know how to be there in society with the apt behavior that people want from us. Thank you so much, Chitra. It was lovely, lovely, lovely talking to you. And I'll catch up with you.